Some of you guys might be worried about the recent interview with Ian Hazakostas, where he has clarified what we mean by stopping gear swapping in Mythic Plus. And some of you high Mythic Pluses might be worried that they're taking choice away from you, that they're restricting your potential, but fear not, because Forum Man is here to solve your problems.
By the power of Grayskull.
That's right, we've delved into the forums to find the answers you guys have been looking for to your concerns for BFA in order to make sure you sleep easy tonight. So here we go with the top 5 reasons that this is a good change. Ian is right. People might be enjoying content, but they are enjoying it in the wrong way. You are enjoying it for the wrong reasons. Thank you. Oh my god. We finally know. I was enjoying the game for all this time, but I was doing it incorrectly. That's right. If you were enjoying maximizing your character, you were doing it wrong. You were doing it wrong, and now we can rest easy. Because that's all you need to think about, is you need to think, wait a minute, I'm having fun right now, but am I having fun in the right way with my video game? Maybe I'm not. Maybe I need to listen to what I'm being told, and then I will understand exactly how I'm supposed to have fun. And then change what I do, which I find fun, which is wrong, and then change that to the way that I'm supposed to have fun. Now, if you find that when you change this, you're having less fun, that's your problem, okay? That's your fault, and you need to reevaluate your thought process on this whole thing. I wonder how many people were actually this kind of min-maxing autismos with a specific gear set for each and every trash pack and boss. Macros and add-ons are for tryhards. That's right, it's for tryhards. And you don't want to be a tryhard, guys. You don't want that to happen. Now, let's just double check exactly how difficult and cumbersome this system was in-game. Okay then, so I'm going to open this up. I'm going to go to this equipment manager button. I'm going to say new set. This will be my dungeon set, so I'm going to call it dungeon. I'm going to click OK. That's that, and then I'm gonna put it on my bars. Done. That's right, using the built-in, comes with the base game, no add-ons required item management set, and then dragging that button down to the bar, and then occasionally pressing that button is tryhard, alright? Almost to the point of apparently being autistic. That's right, it's an actual issue. It's potentially a medical issue with what you're dealing with. So you need to think about that. You really need to think about how much effort you're putting into this game, how much thought you're putting into this game, and then really dragging that back down. You need to bring that down a peg or two. What you don't want to be doing is being classed as a tryhard or somebody who does well. You don't want that. That's a terrible thing to be in. You don't want to be in that position. Listen to what the forum guys are trying to tell you. They're mocking you. They're making fun of you. You don't want that to happen. Think about it. Honestly, I agree with him. It is more interesting, and I've argued this position before. He isn't taking away choices by removing gear swapping, he's adding choices, you muppet. Choice still exists. It's more meaningful this way. That's right. So when you start a dungeon, you can think to yourself all these wonderful things. Do I need my survivability gear? Do I need my AoE damage gear? Do I need my single target gear? Because it's all one encounter. What's going to be the best way of going around this? Now, what I need you to forget about is class design in order for this to work. Okay, so in order for this to actually make sense, we need to forget about how the classes in the game are designed. That we need to just push that to one side for the minute, right? Let's forget that certain specs gain vastly different bonuses and play styles and procs and all those kind of things, just depending on the gear they wear, not including legendaries at all. Some classes wear vastly different stats. Now, I know what you're thinking. If that's the case, then isn't it going to mean that my spec that needs different gear to do well at AoE and for single target, and doesn't have great survivability, is going to be at a significant disadvantage to the classes that have naturally great survivability, do great AoE and single target in the same gear. Now, yes, you are, but that's your fault for playing that character. And don't worry about it. They're going to rebalance it. They're going to rebalance it. That's fine, okay? They're going to rebalance it. Now, what does that actually mean? Well, I mean, if I can't survive these fights and I do poor AoE, but my single target's pretty good, if they rebalance it, let's just take survivability. So one of the bosses, just one of the bosses, none of the trash and none of the other 2 bosses or 3 bosses, they're fine. But there's this one boss that's in there, say boss number 3, and he does something that's unavoidable AoE damage that like the healer just can't prevent consistently. He does it so many times through the fight, and I don't have great survivability, so it kills me outright. Okay. So I'm going to have to put on my survivability gear, right? That's a compelling choice. I had to think about that before. Oh shit, now I actually do terrible single target damage and terrible AoE damage. Okay, that's a problem because I'm useless for like 85% of the dungeon. Never mind that. Let's just move past that. Okay, so what if you've got a choice between, I don't know, a Warlock, does great single target and great AoE, wearing the same gear, and another class that doesn't do that? I'm sure that'll be fine. Right, I'm sure that'll be fine. What I'll do instead is I will say, right, it's a Mythic Plus. It's fine. It's a Mythic Plus. I'm going to wear my AoE damage. There's always going to be trash there. And for bosses, I'm going to have a terrible experience because I have to play in gear that doesn't make any sense. So that's going to suck. Let's switch it around then. Let's switch it around. That sucks. That sucks. It's not fun. Okay, let's. I'm going to spec single target. Right, I'm going to spec single target. We'll forget the survivability for now, and I'll sacrifice my AoE damage. So now I just have to have way less fun during all the trash in the Mythic Plus dungeon. But I'll be okay on the bosses. But on the trash it'll be way less fun. But there's more choice this way. Create outfits and outfitter at boss with single target mechanics. Choose single target. On trash need AoE. Press button, go AoE. How compelling is that? Because that's what everyone's whining over. It's more compelling. It's more compelling. Pressing gear swap buttons, right, that aren't even macros, that's not compelling gameplay. I agree with you. It's not compelling gameplay at all. What's more compelling is not caring and just picking something at the beginning, which, after discussing with a lot of the guys who do very high M+, will be, is there a big survivability problem? Then we'll wear survivability. If not, wear the best AoE DPS, because in 99% of cases, that's more important, even on tyrannical weeks, is making sure we kill all the trash efficiently, because there's way more of it than there is bosses, and unless it's a really skewed dungeon that has like basically no trash, then that's what we'll do. So what we're going to do is have this far more compelling system where we just have 2 gear sets, and that's it. That's the more compelling. That's the one. That's the more compelling system. It's way more interesting. What I really like about this new compelling system is that previously in Legion, where the system was wrong, it wasn't working out, is Blizzard had all these things that dropped. They had like speed and avoidance, and you could work hard and farm and collect that stuff and then utilize it. What's better in BFA is there'll be way less useful gear because it doesn't fit into how the game works anymore. So you might have these really good sets and stats that you got to drop by, you know, farming gear and playing the game, but you won't need to use them anymore, which is cool. That's really cool. You won't need to use them anymore. Instead, now you can just shard those because they don't fit into one of the 2 metrics or 3 that you might possibly need for an entire dungeon run. Instead of having these niche things that you built up and prepared and you talked to your group about and utilized in many different ways, now you can actually just dispense with all that hassle. It's hassle. That's what it is. It's hassle. It's a bit of a pain in the ass to have to manage all that stuff. Sometimes you've got to like click the plus button and then click save, which is a bummer. And then what you can do now is just have the 2 or 3 if you're really high level, which is cool, right? I mean, it simplifies the whole process. I don't care. I've never gear swapped and I do my 15 each week. Who cares what MDI wannabes are doing? It will restore more people into M+, because they don't need to worry about gear swapping. So, Forum Man went out and did some checking on a lot of the people across the US, the EU, MMO Champ, looking at who was giving us this solid and sage wisdom. And a lot of them don't do Mythic Plus at all, any season. Some of them had done a couple, and some of them admitted to just buying their key. And I imagine that for a lot of those guys that it's a case of gear swapping, preventing them from doing that. Couldn't do my Mythic 2, Mythic 0, or anything higher than that, obviously, because of gear swapping and the effects it had on me. They're right in what they say is that this is a change that only affects 1% of the player base. It's around those numbers that are going to be hit by the gear swapping thing. But what's good to see is the community coming together and just throwing all their opinions in the hat as to why it's a good thing, right? And sharing their thoughts on it as people who don't play that part of the game to let us know. Now, I'm not saying that if you don't play Mythic Plus that you can't have an opinion, but there's some part of me that thinks you should find out about it first, a little bit. Maybe check or talk to people who do it and see what they think, because they're the ones who experience it. But that's not necessary, right? That's not necessary. What we want to be doing is actually just deciding for those people about a part of the game that you don't play and has no effect on you. I think that's a really good idea to throw that in there, so we get all these different points of views thrown in there. Even if it doesn't make any sense, that's okay, because maybe some part of it, probably not, but some part of it might make sense, and that's cool. So there we go, the top 5 reasons why you guys shouldn't be worried about this stuff. Alright, so that was obviously a really silly, jokey, sarcastic video. But being realistic for a second, this is a kind of change that, one, doesn't really affect me. I don't push high Mythic Plus, but a lot of my friends do, and I've lost 6 or 7 friends, six friends over the last 2 weeks who are just done with WoW now. And they're not the guys who are complaining on the forums and saying, WoW will die and all that kind of stuff. They're not that guys. They're just like, well, I'm done. You know, they're spoiling part of the game for me. And they have been very triggered by the amount of people who clearly don't know anything about high-end Mythic Plus that they really enjoy. That's their fun. That's where they find it fun. And they find it really fun to maximize their class in that way. Even me, who just does my 15s for the weekly chest, I have no interest in pushing Super High Mythic Plus. I still gear swap. And that's because my characters play vastly different in those scenarios. And being trapped into one of them is very unfun for me. And I do find it very sad that people are like, well, you find that fun, you must be a moron, or, you know, there's something mentally wrong with you. It's so offensive, because it's nothing that affects you in any way. And to say what other people find fun is just unbelievably stupid. It's so rude and unnecessary. The gear swapping thing, let's think about it. If they rebalance it, they're saying they're going to rebalance it. So if we look at the obvious one, which is survivability, at a certain point, your character, because everybody has different levels of survivability, is going to be killed way before the other characters. And that character will then be stuck. It will not be able to progress any further, despite the fact that you love and enjoy this content, and your friends keep going further and further ahead. You're not going to be able to because of the character you play, forcing you to either re-roll, or Blizzard's going to do the rebalancing. But what does that really mean? Well, they're either going to have to make Mythic Plus easier, right? Which doesn't solve the issue either, because if you make it easier, so, okay, you couldn't survive a 15, because remember we're going to start at 10 this time. You can't survive a 15 tyrannical boss. So they then nerf the 15 tyrannical to make it more in line. The issue just crops up again later on, and those naturally high survivability classes, they're just going to push past you again. It's only a temporary band-aid fix. The only other rebalancing they could do is to make everybody's survivability the same. Like, exactly the same is the only way it works. And that's not fun. And the only third option there is that you have to really drag down your group by wearing survivability gear for one potential spell on one particular boss in the entirety of the dungeon. That's not fun. That is not fun. And it is really not fun from anybody who enjoys playing at a high level to be relying on your friends to carry you in various scenarios. It's a very idyllic idea. It's a very idyllic idea to be saying to people, you get to make these meaningful choices. Who's going to have the AoE? Who's going to have the single target? Have we got the right balance? That's all nice in a perfect world, but this game has never, ever been perfect. And if you want classes to remain unique, it never will be. It never will be. Talents are enough. Are we doing majority AoE here, or is single target more important? Right, I can pick around my talents, but I can gear around doing more AoE, and then I can swap to the single target to get the full advantage then. I'm already making a sacrifice by talenting into a certain setup of my character that's not very effective in other scenarios. You've already made that choice. Gear swapping is so ridiculously quick. It uses in-game functions. There's no add-ons or macros required, and so many people bought into this. Oh, we don't like you making macros and things. You're not. This is a system of the game. It's like a chat window. It's like having your gear window. It's built in. It's been built in for nearly a decade. It's been built in forever. This is nothing that's being sold to the casual player base as actually being some sort of tricky, hardcore thing. It's not. It never has been. It's just built in. That's it. There used to be add-ons for it. And yes, you can get add-ons that make it a little easier, for sure. But the basic system still applies of just making a set, clicking save. You can also set it so as soon as you change spec, it automatically swaps your gear, something I take advantage of, and just putting it on your bar as a button. There's no macros to be made or anything like that. It's a really disingenuous comment to make it sound like that. On top of that, the classes just don't work the way this idyllic idea suggests. And to say that it's fun to be a liability to your friends because you do just significantly weaker AoE is not fun. It's not fun at all. Nobody wants to be the guy lagging behind like, well, I'm glad my friends are doing all the work. I could do the work. I have the tools to do the work, but I've been told I'm not allowed to use them. That's not fun either. And what will also happen is it will significantly shrink the potential classes for Mythic Plus pushing. It reduces the meta massively. People are fine when pushing high keys to have their friend who might have weak survivability if they only have to wear survivability gear for one boss or for some of the instance, right? As long as overall it works out fine. What you're going to find in this scenario is the classes that can do both AoE, single target, and decent survivability are just going to storm ahead. They're going to storm ahead and have a significantly easier time. The other guys are going to be a detriment to the group, and the amount of viability is going to reduce. And that's why these guys are pissed. But it's only the 1% of the player base. And I have to ask you, the guys who are telling those guys what they should be doing, and certainly the guys who are telling people what you should be finding fun, why do you care about this? Why? Why are you doing it? Why are you trying to change the game for something that you have no involvement in and no interest in whatsoever? What do you get out of it? I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you had fun. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.